Have you ever heard of a Scenar? Kind of looks like an old cell phone, but it's actually a microcurrent device, kind of like this newer American-made Avazzia Evolution. Pinnacle is another one, Genesis, Frequency Specific Microcurrent, Tennant Bio-Modulator. Today I'm going to share a story about some history of using microcurrent frequency technology for health. Now, before I get started, once you see this story, you might be interested in using some of the devices I'm going to show you. If you happen to be watching this shortly after I publish it, consider jumping on that quickly because we do have the first price increase ever coming in just a few days. So check that out quick. It's interesting because while there is another company that calls itself Frequency Specific Microcurrent, I like to call the technology that I represent Waveform Specific Microcurrent, because of how it was originally invented back in the Soviet Union as part of a secret space program for their cosmonauts. The idea was to help mimic the natural communication pathways we use in our cellular communication. Their goal appears to have been to create a small device they could take with them into space in order to maintain health when they may not be able to have ongoing supplies of nutrients or medicines. Through extensive research, the Soviets were able to back engineer the waveforms we use to simulate the production of neurotransmitters and other biochemicals using energy alone. When the Soviet Union collapsed, the program became privatized, and there were two companies that came out of that project. RITM, R-I-T-M, and Let Medical were the two original companies, and they called the technology Scenar, which is a very Russian-sounding acronym for self-controlling neuroadaptive regulator. And, quite a mouthful there. Once these companies started producing their devices and distributing them throughout the world, there were a number of knockoff companies but none of them really had much of a traction or of a reputation. All these devices used a similar type of electrode, and skin contact was required. They have electrodes on the device like this itself, but also have various types of external electrodes, such as this one from one of the original devices, including the most common type of Y electrode, which was a very versatile type of electrode to use with many of these devices. The Russian doctors involved in this technology had developed extensive protocols for just about anything, any kind of health issue. The easiest things that I've found them helpful for are musculoskeletal type of issues, pain from things like sports injuries. For more complex issues, the Russians designed many protocols that were centered on the spine. They called this therapy zonal therapy, in contrast to the acupuncture meridian points that are common in traditional Chinese medicine. While the professional devices offered a type of feedback based on measurements of the impedance of the skin, the home use devices were simpler in design and really just designed to run different different programs of waveform specific frequency output. The general goals of using these technologies is to unclog blockages of energy in the body, allowing the energy to flow freely and thereby optimize metabolic function and the health of all the organ systems in the body. That being said, here's my disclaimer. I am not a health professional of any kind and make no medical claim. I am just a researcher who happens to have gone through a lot of self-healing of my own and like to make videos about my experiences. So please do your own research and consider working with a professional. None of my statements regarding products or ideas are intended to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure any disease. If you have a medical condition, I advise you to consult a professional for advice. In this case, our current devices, such as this device, have been classified by the FDA under the 510K microcurrent classification. This means that the currents they use are very low, hence the term microcurrent. Speaking of professional, the most avid users of the professional versions of these devices are chiropractors. Some of these get very advanced with the way they're using these in conjunction with kinesiology to test the various locations on the skin and facilitate their chiropractic adjustments. You might be wondering, what are the different types of devices, considering I've mentioned both professional devices as well as consumer home use type of devices. I'll dig into that in a moment, but first here, I want to share a bit of a crazy story about how all these current devices came about. Back in the early 2000s, I was part of the group promoting the use of the Rhythm Scenar devices. These started with a device called the 97.4. This was the next model, which looks very similar, called the 97.4 Plus. At the time, there was quite a bit of concern about quality control of manufacturing in Russia. So while there were some Russian-made devices, the devices for distribution in Western countries were being produced in Western Europe. We were getting the 97.4 devices and this device from a company out of the Netherlands called Intermediate Services, run by a man named Jan de Jong. This was a joint project with the Russians that was said to be made without any Russian parts. This was a huge deal back then because of the high failure rate of Russian-made parts at the time. I just want to note that these were great devices. We never really had any problems with any of the Scenar units made by Intermediate Services. So what's the point of this story? This is where the story gets a bit shady and based mostly on rumors. So I'll let you decide what you want to believe. But suffice it to say that the Russians were apparently quite opportunistic and had allegedly engaged with a group of former Texas Instruments engineers for a new manufacturing outfit in Texas. This group even claimed to have negotiated a worldwide exclusive sales contract with the Russians for sales of the Rhythm Scenar devices, such as this one right here. I'll remind you that this was at the same time that they were still distributing these devices made in the Netherlands by Jan de Jong. my company, Future Tech Today, the roots of the current healthharmonic.com brand were served with a cease and desist letter saying that we were in violation of this new Texas Outfits contract with the Russians. Many others also got these cease and desist letters. I think a lot of us really just kind of brushed it off and really didn't take it seriously and just went on with our business. After all, I think it was just one letter, and the devices were at that time still available from Europe. In fact, if I remember correctly, things continued for quite some time after that, and that was the time when the new model, this model, the Prof Scenar came out and replaced the previous 97.4 Plus unit. So more rumors circulated that now this group in Texas had defaulted on a supposed debt of $1 million to the Russians. I'm sure at that time that was quite a few rupees. So they lost their supposed exclusive distribution rights on the Rhythm Scenar devices. To this day, I'm not sure if anyone ever saw a Rhythm 97.4 or 97.4 Plus unit that was manufactured in Texas. But I did hear that they existed. But shortly thereafter, I do find it quite interesting that a new company appeared out of nowhere in Texas called Avazzia. If you look at these devices, it's hard not to see some similarities. We've got similar electrodes right on the front of the unit. They're a little bit different size, but there's some similarities here for sure. Now, I'm not claiming that Avazzia back-engineered the Russian technology and used it to develop their own device. I really don't know if that's what happened, but I'll let you make up your own opinion on that. One thing that I will say is that I'm very grateful that we have this American-made device now, which incidentally is actually much easier to use than the original Russian devices. Now, we are in a time where worldly conflicts make it very difficult to import any products from Russia. Hence the difficulty in getting these eye goggle electrodes which work with this device, which happen to still be made in Russia. So this makes me even more grateful that we have American engineers further developing advanced microcurrent technology like this. Another note, technology transfer between countries is a big can of worms. We see this mostly in terms of military technology. Usually, it's American technology that's being stolen by China through various intermediaries, such as Israel. I'll let you look into that one yourself. But if America was able to learn some things from the Russians, maybe this was a win. But I sure wish all countries could just get along and stop fighting and develop more of these health technologies. Briefly, here are a few of the devices, starting with the professional devices that have the diagnostic capabilities. This is the original 97.4 Plus, and this is the model that replaced it, the Prof Scenar, also from same manufacturer, Rhythm, which these both were from the intermediate services in the Netherlands. And this right here is our most popular Avazzia device called the Evolution. It has 8 awesome programs in it that make it super simple to use, and it comes with this great book that that's really clear, easy to follow, and articulates so many different methods of use. So this is a really nice package, which if you get the deluxe package, then it comes with a whole slew of different types of electrodes. The eye goggles are separate, so those are actually very difficult to find, but it comes with the deluxe package comes with the Y electrode, a point electrode, even ear clip electrodes, these ear clip electrodes, and even a hair electrode that it's like a brush that goes through the hair. So many different ways of applying this technology. So those are, and it comes with all the most commonly used electrodes in that deluxe package. There are also a few rather advanced optional accessories. The scalar chi, which transforms the waveforms into a scalar field. Then the via chi, which transforms the waveforms into a PEMF, or pulsed electromagnetic field. And the newest, called the Scenar Chi, which combines both of those, the scalar and the PEMF, with visible and infrared LED. So that one combines either, it has a switch on it, so it's either scalar or PEMF along with the light. The modern version of the Rhythm Professional would be the Pinnacle device, which I don't have here right now, but it combines a number of preset programs such as what the Evolution has in it, with the advanced diagnostic capabilities that were included in devices like the Prof Scenar. The professional devices do have a more significant learning curve, so please plan to spend some time on learning when considering these devices. That being said, I have had many individuals that have chosen the Pinnacle device just because it offers so much, and a little bit of training really does go a long way. There's also a more basic device called the Genesis. This here is kind of an older version of a device that's kind of similar to the Genesis. It's much more basic. It has much fewer programs on it. I would recommend the Evolution for most people because the programs are more extensive and quite unique and powerful. Quick note on these eye goggle electrodes. These have been our most popular accessory electrode for these devices, and because they are still made in Russia, they have become very difficult to come by. And when we get them, they go really quick. So they come in batches. So when we have them available, if you want one, just try to get them quick, because we have to make them sold out for long periods of time in between orders, because they have to be pre-ordered in batches, and it takes a long time. They come through Israel, of all places. It's kind of a mess. We're working on alternatives to that, but the other electrodes are all pretty much compatible with all the current Avazzia models. So the only consideration is sometimes various other adapter cords are required depending on what type of electrode you're looking at, such as like these Y electrodes. They have to have a particular type of cord that plugs into that connects to the Avazzia device. So thank you for watching this video. Check out healthharmonic.com/micro or click on the link in the description to learn more about these devices and consider purchasing one for yourself. Again, if you're watching this right away after I posted it, jump on it right away, because there's a significant price increase that's coming in just a few days from when I post this. And if you found this video to be interesting and informative, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to this channel and hitting the notification bell so you know when I post new videos or go live on this channel. Keep in mind, if you want to hit me up and have some questions, there's a chat button in the lower right of the website, so you can just click on that and start chatting with me by text, and I try to respond as quickly as possible. It's typically at least within a day, and usually much quicker than that. It just depends if you catch it on a weekend or something like that. But yeah, thanks again for watching this video. Look forward to seeing you next time.